I used to believe betrayal had a face. Sharp, cold, deliberate. But betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it creeps in through the back door of your own house, wearing your mother's perfume and your sister's voice. It started the way most betrayals do, quiet and ordinary. I was 17. A high school senior balancing AP classes, a part-time barista job at Beans & Bloom, and the emotional weight of keeping myself together after Dad left. But through all of it, there was Teddy. Teddy wasn't just a dog. He was my anchor. He came into my life the summer after Dad walked out. A chocolate Labrador with sad eyes and ears too big for his head. We found each other in the most cliché way possible. I'd volunteered at the local shelter for summer credits, and Teddy had been dumped by a family who didn't have time for dogs anymore. I remember sitting on the concrete floor of the kennel. Teddy curled into my lap like he belonged there. I didn't say a word when Mom walked in to pick me up. Just looked at her, blinking through the tears I hadn't even known I'd started crying. And for one rare, generous moment, she saw me. We brought him home that day. He slept beside my bed every night after. Learned to wait at the door when I was late from school. Learned what my panic attacks sounded like and how to nudge his nose under my hand until the tremors stopped. So no, Teddy was not just a dog. It happened on a Tuesday. I came home from school like always. Keys jingling, backpack sliding off one shoulder, voice calling out for him automatically. "Teddy, I'm home." Silence. No bounding pause. No tail thumping against the floor. Just silence. At first, I thought maybe he was asleep in Mom's room. He'd started doing that more often since she quit trying to hide the wine bottles. I kicked off my sneakers and walked down the hallway. "Mom? Where's Teddy?" She was in the kitchen, stirring pasta like nothing was wrong, like the universe hadn't just cracked wide open. "Oh," she said casually, without turning around. "He's gone." My heart dropped. "Gone? Gone where?" She shrugged, still stirring. "We sold him." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Or misunderstood. Or maybe this was some sort of cruel joke she and my younger sister Riley had cooked up. They were both good at those. At pretending something tragic happened just to watch me unravel. "You sold him?" I repeated, slowly, every syllable like broken glass on my tongue. She finally turned to face me. Her eyes didn't match the weight of what she'd done. No shame, no sadness. Just that cold, distant look she wore whenever I talked about something that wasn't Riley's dance recitals or her new boyfriend. "We needed the money," she said simply, "and you'll be off to college soon. You wouldn't be able to take care of him anyway." "I never agreed to that," I said, my voice cracking. "He's mine. You don't pay the bills around here, Ellie." And there it was, the line they always threw like a dagger when logic and empathy failed. The same line I heard when I begged them not to use my birthday savings for Riley's braces, when they took my room for her sleepover guests, when they left me at school in the rain because her cheer practice ran late. I didn't cry in front of them. I didn't yell. I just walked to my room and locked the door. I sat on the floor, knees pulled tight to my chest, breathing in the scent of his blanket. His leash still hung by the door. His tennis ball sat under my bed where he'd last shoved it. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I logged into every pet rehoming site I could find. Searched Facebook groups, Craigslist ads, shelter listings. It was a long shot, a stupid one. But I couldn't sit still, not when every cell in my body screamed that he wasn't just gone. By 2:47 a.m., I found it. A blurry photo, chocolate lab, medium build. Well-trained, sweet temperament, recently vaccinated. Location: 8 miles from our house, listed 6 hours ago. And then the detail that turned the blood in my veins to fire. Only selling because previous owners couldn't keep him. Picked up from suburban home this morning. I stared at the screen in the dark, the only light coming from my laptop. My hands hovered over the keyboard, heart hammering in my chest. It had to be Teddy. The picture was small, pixelated, taken in a dim hallway. But I'd know that dog anywhere. The faint white mark across his chest, the way one ear tipped forward more than the other, and those eyes. God, those eyes. He looked confused, lost, like he'd been taken somewhere he didn't understand. I clicked the seller's name, Julie M. There was a phone number, and an email, and something even better, a physical location listed for pickup. Roland Hills. That wasn't far. 15 minutes by bus, 10 if I got a ride. I copied everything into a document and saved it, just in case the post got taken down. Then I sent a message, one that felt like walking a tightrope over my own grief. Hi, Julie. I'm interested in the lab you listed. Is he still available? Could I come meet him tomorrow after school? I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Then I sat there, staring, waiting for those 3 dots. They didn't come. Not that night, anyway. By morning, I was a shell. I got through homeroom in a fog. My best friend Jayla noticed it immediately. You look like death, she whispered, nudging me. What happened? I hesitated. Then the words came out all at once. They sold Teddy. She blinked, confused. Wait. Sold. Like, gone. Sold? I nodded. Her face turned to stone. You're joking. Ellie, they seriously sold your dog? My mom said they needed the money. Jayla leaned back in her seat, shaking her head in slow disbelief. That's psychotic. She didn't ask why, didn't try to make excuses for them. She just knew. And in that moment, I felt like someone finally saw how wrong this was. I found the buyer, I whispered. On Craigslist. Her eyes widened. You what? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot. That's him. That's Teddy. Jayla leaned in, her lips parting. That's definitely him. Are you gonna go get him? I nodded once, sharp and certain. I'm not leaving him there. At lunch, the message came. Hi. Yes, he's still available. He's very sweet, but our toddler is scared of dogs, so we're rehoming him. You're welcome to stop by. After 5 p.m. works best. I read it 5 times, then showed it to Jayla. You have to go, she said immediately. You can't let them give him to someone else. I know, but I don't have a car. Jayla pulled out her keys without hesitation. You do now. We skipped last period. I told the front desk I had a family emergency. It wasn't entirely a lie. My heart was pounding like something life or death was about to unfold. And in a way, it was. We pulled up outside a modest duplex with peeling, paint and a dented mailbox. Jayla turned off the engine and I just sat there staring. My legs wouldn't move. Want me to go with you? She asked. I nodded, clutching Teddy's old collar in my hand, the one Mom hadn't even bothered to give them. The woman who opened the door was maybe late 30s, early 40s, brown hair in a messy bun, tired eyes. A toddler clung to her leg. "Oh, you must be Ellie," she said brightly. "Come on in." She led us into a living room where Teddy sat curled up on a dog bed. The moment he saw me, he howled. He leapt up and launched himself across the room, nearly knocking over a lamp. His body wiggled so hard it looked like he was trying to climb inside my skin, and I broke. I fell to my knees, crying into his fur, whispering, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry," over and over while he licked my face like he'd waited 1,000 years to find me again. Jayla sniffled behind me. Even the woman looked moved. "He really loves you," she said softly. I pulled away, wiped my face, and looked at her. "That's because he's mine." She looked confused. I pulled out my phone and opened a picture from 6 months ago. Me and Teddy on the couch, his head on my lap, my face smiling in the camera. "He's not just some dog I found online," I said. "My mom and sister sold him without my permission. He's been with me since he was a puppy. I didn't even know he was gone until I got home from school." Julie's expression changed slowly, from surprise to concern to something close to disgust. "Oh my God," she whispered. They said their daughter had allergies and couldn't keep him anymore. I thought it was a family decision. It wasn't." We sat there in silence for a moment. Teddy hadn't moved from my lap. Then she stood and quietly walked into the hallway. When she returned, she held out an envelope. "I paid $300 for him," she said gently. "I don't want it back, but I think you should know what they used to prove he was theirs." Inside the envelope was a printed vet record with my last name on it. My vet, my appointments, my phone number, all printed and handed off like I didn't exist. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "I'll pay you back anyway," I said. "Even if you don't want it." Julie smiled. "Just take him home. He belongs with you." We drove in silence most of the way back. Teddy sat in the back seat with his head in my lap, the same way he always had. Jayla glanced at me as we turned into my neighborhood. "You're not going to just let this go, right?" "No," I said quietly. "They used my records. They sold him with my info. They pretended I didn't exist." I looked down at Teddy, his eyes closed, trusting, safe. I don't know how yet, but I'm going to make sure they regret it. When I walked back into the house with Teddy at my side, my mother was halfway through folding laundry, and Riley was on the couch scrolling through TikTok with her shoes on the cushions, like always. Teddy's nails clicked across the hardwood as he followed me to the living room. His ears were perked, tail low and curious. He remembered this house. He remembered this betrayal. Riley looked up first, and the way her face dropped, you'd think she saw a ghost. "Is that—" "Yep," I said, deadpan. "Teddy." My mom appeared in the hallway with a pair of folded jeans in her hand, stopping mid-step, her face contorted. "Ellie, what the hell is this?" I didn't answer. I walked straight past them both to my room, Teddy close behind. I shut the door, locked it, and sat on the floor while he sniffed every corner of the space that had once been ours. It took exactly 3 minutes before the pounding on my door started. "Ellie, open this door. Right now." I didn't. Instead, I let Teddy curl up beside me while I pulled out the envelope Julie had given me. I opened it again, slower this time, and studied the paperwork they'd used. My vet's name. My name. My number. My appointment notes. They used my identity to sell something that wasn't even theirs. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was fraud. They didn't speak to me for 2 days after that. Not really. Mom sent one furious text telling me I was ungrateful and dramatic. Riley muttered psycho under her breath every time I passed her in the hallway. But I didn't care, because Teddy was home. And this time, I wasn't just going to cry about what they did. I was going to document it. Every message. Every lie. Every screenshot of the ad, the text from Julie, the vet records they forged, all of it. I backed it up to a hidden Google Drive folder. I made a printed copy and tucked it inside one of Teddy's old treat tins. And then I started asking questions. Jayla helped. She was the one who suggested I call the vet and ask if anyone from my family had recently requested Teddy's records. I did. And the receptionist confirmed it. Someone called posing as me, said I had lost my email and needed the documents sent over. They used my full name and birth date to authorize it. That was identity theft. I sat there in the bathroom, after that call, phone still clutched in my hand, staring into the mirror like I didn't recognize the girl looking back. Not because I was shocked they'd done it, but because I wasn't surprised at all. They had always taken what they wanted and framed it as family sacrifice. I started watching how they acted around Teddy. Mom barely looked at him. Riley complained that his fur got on her leggings when she passed by. It was like they were pretending he never left, never got sold, never came back. But every now and then, I caught it. That flicker of tension in Mom's face when I came in the room with him. The tight smile, the averted eyes. She knew. And she knew I wasn't done. So she tried to beat me to it. One night, I came home from a shift at Beans and Bloom to find my bedroom door unlocked. The treat tin was gone. My laptop was powered off. And Mom was sitting on the couch like a vulture, her wine glass already half full. "You're not going to ruin this family over a dog," she said, without turning her head. I walked right past her, right into the kitchen, opened the pantry. It wasn't there. "I know you've been collecting things," she added, still calm. "Spying, copying texts. You need to stop before you do something you can't take back." I didn't answer. Instead, I grabbed Teddy's leash and called for him. He padded toward me obediently, and I clipped it on without a word. As I opened the door, Mom finally stood. "You think people will care? You think anyone will take your side?" I turned. For once, my voice didn't shake. "They don't have to. All I need is the law." Then I walked out. Jayla met me at the park 20 minutes later. We sat under the playground awning while Teddy drank from the water fountain. I told her everything. About the vet call, the fake authorization, the envelope I now had hidden in her glove compartment, the missing tin, and then I told her the part I hadn't said out loud yet. "I want to take them to court." She blinked. "Ellie, I'm serious." I pulled out the printout from Julie's Craigslist ad and the texts she'd forwarded. They impersonated me to access private documents, used my ID to sell something I owned. That's not a family issue. That's fraud. Jayla looked at me for a long time. Then she nodded. "Okay. Then let's figure out how to make it hurt." We didn't go straight to a lawyer. Not yet. Jayla's cousin, Derek, was a third-year law student who owed her a favor, something about a broken phone and a lie she took the blame for back in middle school. Whatever the details, she called him. And 2 days later, we were sitting at a booth in a coffee shop downtown, with a laptop open between us and Teddy, dozing quietly under the table. "I'm not a lawyer yet," Derek began, fingers steepled. "So this isn't legal advice, but I can tell you this. If your mom impersonated you to access your vet records, then use them to make a profit by selling your dog without consent, that crosses a line." "What kind of line?" I asked quietly. "Identity theft, fraud, possibly. Civil theft, depending on what your state recognizes. You're a minor, so it gets murky. But the fact that you've documented everything, that's power. They'll want this to stay out of court." I felt Jayla's hand close around mine under the table. Derek leaned in. "If I were you, I'd write a letter. Not a dramatic one. A precise one. State what happened. Include your documentation. Tell them exactly what you expect and by when. And if they don't respond, you escalate." "Escalate how?" "Report it. Police, small claims, CPS, whatever applies. But let them know this is your final warning. People, don't take teenagers seriously until you force them to." The letter took me 3 hours to write, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I wanted it to sting. Without sounding like a cry for help, I listed the vet call and the impersonation. I cited the exact day the ad went up, the proof of purchase, and Julie's statement. I included screenshots and a copy of the forged paperwork. I kept it clinical, precise, and cold. Then I ended it with this: "You used my identity to sell the one living thing that made me feel safe. You treated me like I didn't matter, like I wouldn't notice, like I wouldn't fight back. Consider this your only chance to make it right. Or I will." I printed it, folded it, sealed it, and left it on the kitchen counter. I didn't stick around to watch them read it. 2 days passed. No word, no screaming, no texts, just cold silence until Sunday morning. I came downstairs to find my mother sitting at the table with her laptop, hair tied back, glasses on. The image of composed authority. Riley was nowhere to be seen. Teddy was lying at my feet. "You made your point," she said. I didn't answer. She looked up. "You want an apology? Fine. I'm sorry. But you need to stop this, before it gets out of hand." I laughed. Quiet, bitter. "Before it gets out of your hand, you mean? You think you're going to win anything from this?" I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder, and tapped the screen. "Why don't you repeat that part again?" Her face shifted. Cold. Flat. Calculating. "You really think this will end well for you?" I didn't flinch. "I think it won't end quietly." She stood, walked over and took a deep breath. The kind she used to take before delivering punishment, when I was little. "We did what was best for this family," she said. "You're too emotional to see that. You always have been." "No," I said softly. "I've always been the one who didn't matter to you. That's not the same thing. That night Riley cornered me in the hallway. You're blowing." "This up on purpose," she hissed. "Mom's stressed out enough without you playing the victim." "I am the victim. You were going to leave for college anyway." I looked at her, the sister who'd gotten everything handed to her, who always had the last slice, the best stories, the louder voice. I still had a right to say goodbye. She went quiet, and for the first time in a long time, I saw something flicker in her. Maybe guilt. Maybe just the weight of being caught. But she turned without another word. Monday after school, the envelope was waiting on my bed. Inside, a cashier's check for $300, a typed letter. No signature. This is what you wanted. Take it and let this go. We can't undo it, but we can stop this before it gets worse for all of us. That was it. Not sorry. Not acknowledgement. Just a bribe. I tore the check in half, and I wrote another letter. This one wasn't for them. It was for the local animal welfare agency. I reported unauthorized transfer of ownership, forged documents, and suspected identity theft involving an emotional support animal. I attached everything Derek suggested. Then I filed a formal request to transfer Teddy's vet records, to my name only, with a PIN required for access. And then I bought a lockbox. Everything went inside, because they'd already sold him once. They wouldn't get a second chance. The thing about consequences is, people always expect them to arrive with thunder. A door kicked in, a dramatic lawsuit, someone crying in a courtroom. But in the real world, consequences start quietly, like a phone call. It came 3 days after I filed the report. I was sitting in the school library during third period study hall when my phone buzzed, a local number I didn't recognize. I slipped into the stairwell to answer. "Is this Eleanor Marsh?" the woman asked. Her tone was polite but crisp. "Professional?" "Yes." "This is Officer Brielle Herrera from Animal Welfare Enforcement. You submitted a report last week about an unauthorized transfer involving a Labrador." My heart started to pound. "Yes. Teddy. I submitted vet records and documentation. I reviewed your file. It's thorough. We're opening an inquiry under Section 14, unauthorized ownership transfer of a registered companion animal. We've flagged the household involved for identity impersonation and will be issuing a formal statement for them to respond." She paused. "It might take a few weeks, but I want you to know we're taking it seriously." I stood there, frozen, barely breathing, as something washed over me that I hadn't felt in years. Power. I didn't tell my mom right away, letting her wait for the shoe to drop. That was the first victory. The second came when Riley's best friend Ava DM'd me 2 days later. "Hey, weird question, but is it true you reported your mom to the government?" "BC," Riley said. "Your dog." Thing was fake, but I saw someone post about it on the Lost Pets page. I didn't answer, but I screen recorded everything. Because if they were going to start whispering behind my back, I wanted to control what they said to my face. By the following week, Mom cracked. I came home to find her on the porch with her phone, in one hand and a cigarette, a habit she'd quit when I was 10, trembling in the other. She didn't even yell when I walked up. "They called me at work," she said without turning. "Asked for a statement. Said we'd be hearing from their legal unit." I waited. She turned her head slowly. Her eyes were red. "What the hell did you do, Ellie?" "What you did," I said evenly. "I just didn't let you bury it. You're really going to destroy your whole family over this?" My voice was low. "You destroyed it the moment you sold him." Inside, Riley was pacing. When I walked in, she flung a printed screenshot at me. A Facebook post from the local shelter's community page. A picture of Teddy. The caption, "Anyone recognize this dog? Owner seeking justice after being sold without permission." "You posted about it?" she yelled. "You're seriously humiliating us in front of everyone." I picked up the paper and stared at her. "I didn't post that. The buyer did. She tagged me after reporting what happened." "You could have kept it private." "So could you," I said. But you sold him like he was a used purse. She flinched. Good. I walked away. The letter from the animal agency arrived 2 days later. Mom opened it. I heard her voice shake as she read it in the kitchen. Per Section 14B, parties involved in the unauthorized transfer of registered companion animals may be subject to civil penalties up to $1,500. Documentation submitted includes credible evidence of identity fraud and emotional distress. There was more. A lot more. She didn't finish reading it aloud. She just sat down at the table and put her head in her hands. Later that night, she knocked on my door, not barged in. Not screamed through it, knocked. I didn't open it. So she spoke through the wood. We'll pay the fine. I'll pay it. I didn't know you'd go this far. I sat on the other side of the door with Teddy curled in my lap, my palm on his soft chest, feeling it rise and fall. I told you I would. She didn't say anything after that, just stood there. Eventually, her footsteps faded. The next morning, I found an envelope slid under my door. Inside, the check again. This time for $1,800. Enough to cover what Julie paid, plus the fine, plus vet bills, and a handwritten note. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope one day you'll understand. Mommy stared at the note for a long time. Then I folded it in half and slipped it into the lockbox with everything else. Not because I forgave her, but because I wanted a record of the day she finally admitted she was wrong. After the fine was paid, the house got quieter. Not in the peaceful way, not like calm after a storm. It was the silence of distance, of walls built too thick to hear through anymore. No one said anything about the check. It sat in my drawer untouched. I refused to cash it, not because I didn't need the money, but because I wanted it to sit there and sweat. To remind them, I wasn't done just because a fee was paid and a note was written. I fed Teddy, walked him, took him to a new vet under a new account with a new emergency contact. Jayla. Because I wasn't going to let them take him from me again. Not physically, not legally. College letters started arriving, and for the first time in months, something in me stirred that wasn't rage or grief or numbness. I'd been accepted to 3 schools, 2 with partial scholarships, 1 full ride, out of state. Jayla squealed when she read it. "This is it, Ellie. This is your out." I didn't respond right away, because leaving meant leaving Teddy too. Dorm rules, out-of-state registration, and even if I could petition for him as an emotional support animal, the process would take months. "I can't bring him," I whispered, "and I can't leave him here. Not with them." Jayla just stared at me, then quietly said, "So don't." 2 days later, she called her aunt in Chicago. Aunt Cassandra was a retired ER nurse who ran a doggy daycare out of her converted basement. No kids, no husband. 3 rescue pit bulls, and a reputation for taking in the weird and wounded, animals, and humans alike. "She said she'll take Teddy," Jayla said, eyes hopeful. "Not permanently. Just until you're settled. She's good. Like, scary good. And she owes my mom a kidney, apparently, so she's locked in." I laughed for the first time in weeks. Not a polite chuckle, a real, ragged, full-body laugh, and then I cried. I didn't tell my family I was moving. I just waited until the acceptance packet came in the mail, and the date was official. Then I booked the train ticket, called the dorm, arranged the move. And the night before I left, I told Jayla, "I'm going to leave them something. It was 2:12 a.m. when I slipped into the kitchen. Teddy's collar, the original one, worn from years of walks and chasing squirrels, sat in my hand. I wrote one line on the back of a napkin and placed it beside it. "You can keep the collar, but you'll never see him again." Then I took my backpack, my suitcase, and Teddy's crate, and walked out the door without making a sound. Jayla and her cousin met me at the station. We hugged too long. Teddy licked my face as I said goodbye. His tail slow, his eyes confused but trusting. He wouldn't understand now, but he would be safe, and that was all I needed. The train ride was 6 hours of silence, coffee and sunlight cutting through dirty windows. Somewhere around the 4th hour, I pulled out my phone and opened my saved drive, the lockbox folder, the screenshots, the letters, the receipts, all of it. And then I opened a blank document and typed the words, "What they took from me and what I took back." Not a revenge piece, a reclamation. I didn't plan to go viral, but when I published the essay 2 months later, on a blog meant for survivors of narcissistic family systems, it took off anyway. The comments poured in. My mom sold my cat when I was 10. I still remember the silence. This hit so hard I had to stop reading halfway. She fought for her dog the way I wish someone fought for me. This is why receipts matter. I was anonymous, but I was heard. And, for the first time in years, I wasn't alone. I didn't expect it to matter outside of me. Publishing that essay felt like shouting into a canyon. Personal, private, almost ceremonial. A way to close the door, or at least bolt it shut. But the internet doesn't let you whisper. It listens. Then it echoes. The blog's views tripled overnight. Comments turned into DMs. DMs turned into emails. My inbox began to look like a diary of strangers' pain, each story twisted in a different way. A stolen inheritance, a pet given away during a sleepover, a parent who forgot a birthday but remembered the other sibling's favorite coffee order. It was overwhelming, but it was also clarifying. Every message made mine feel less like a wound and more like a warning. One message stood out. It came from someone anonymous. No profile picture, no name. "You think your dog story makes you brave? You ruined your own family. Hope. It was worth it. There was no signature, but I didn't need one. Riley had always been better at making enemies than friends, and her lies never lasted long. Word gets around. I read the message twice, then flagged it and moved on. No response. Because silence, when chosen, is stronger than rage. Weeks passed. I started classes, picked a major, got a campus job shelving books in the quietest corner of the library. A job no one wanted because it meant being alone for hours. But I liked it. It felt like recovery. On weekends, I FaceTimed Jayla. She'd visit Teddy at her aunt's place and send me videos. Him lounging on the couch, chewing. A carrot, getting chased by 2 lazy pit bulls who didn't have the energy to keep up. He was safe. He was loved. He was mine. One day, I got an email from Julie, the woman who'd unknowingly bought Teddy from my family. "Hey, Ellie, I saw your piece floating around on a support blog someone linked me to. Just wanted to say thank you for fighting, for writing, for not letting it be swept away. You helped more people than you know, including me." Julie. I hadn't expected to cry, but I did, because it reminded me that healing isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it's a spiral, messy, looping, but still moving forward. The biggest surprise came one Thursday night, 2 weeks before midterms. A package arrived at the dorm mailroom. No return address. Inside, a framed photograph. It was me and Teddy, from years ago. Before everything broke. Before the lies. Before the silence. He was smaller then, barely grown into his legs. My arm was around him. We were both laughing. Tucked behind the frame was a single note. You were right. I never saw what he meant to you, but I see it now. I hope you never come back, but I hope you never forget who you are. Riley. I sat on the floor with it in my lap for hours, because it didn't fix anything. But it said something they'd never said before. They knew I'd won. By the end of the semester, I stopped looking over my shoulder. Not because they'd changed, they hadn't, but because I had. I didn't need closure from people who only understood power, not love. I didn't need an apology retracted from guilt, or a second-hand letter meant to keep their own shame at bay. I had something better. Distance, direction, and proof I could protect the things that mattered to me, even when no one else would. Spring arrived, and with it, something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in a long time. Anticipation. I'd applied to a summer writing residency in Oregon, mostly on a dare from Jayla, submitting my essay and its aftermath as a portfolio. I didn't think I'd get in, but I did. It came with a stipend, housing, and an editor mentor who specialized in memoirs about estranged families and emotional recovery. Jayla screamed when I told her. "You're gonna be famous," I laughed. "I don't want famous. I want free." And I was. I spent one last weekend in Chicago before I left. Not to say goodbye to Teddy, but to take him back. The dorms I was headed to accepted emotional support animals with documentation. And this time, all of it was in my name. Aunt Cassandra teared up when we picked him up. "He's a good one," she said, rubbing behind his ears. "He waits for you like you're the only person in the world." I smiled and clipped on his leash. "That's because I am." On our first morning in Oregon, I took Teddy out into the foggy woods behind the campus cottages. He bounded through pine needles, nose to the air, tail wagging in loops. I sat on a mossy log, notebook open, and scribbled a new first line. This is a story about a dog, but really, it's about the girl who finally learned not to beg. Because that was the truth of it. I didn't win by screaming louder. I didn't win by punishing them back. I won because I stayed still long enough to gather proof, smart enough to wield it, and brave enough to walk away before they noticed they'd lost me. The money they tried to hush me with, I never cashed it. I framed it, hung it beside my desk like a war medal. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't destroying them. It's thriving in a life they'll never be invited back into.